Hi, my name's Kayleigh Frost and I'm the Head of Clinical Support at Health Assured. I'm joined today by Georgia, our lead counsellor, and we're going to be talking about grief. Hi Georgia, you okay?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, really good. You feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, yeah.
Good stuff.
I mean, it's a difficult topic, but...
Exactly, yeah. Look at us all smiles and we're about to talk about grief. So just before we go into that, I just want to know a little bit more about you, Georgia. So I've worked with you for a long time now, and I know, that, I mean, I'm probably biased because I work with you, but I think you are a fantastic counsellor.
Thank you.
What took you into the counselling world? You know, why are you here now as a counsellor? Yeah.
That's an interesting question. So I was one of those people that really didn't know what they wanted to do with life. So I didn't kind of just fall into go from college to university.
Yeah.
So I went from college to working, and I did loads of random hospitality stuff, met loads of different types of people, and then I got an opportunity to move to Mexico City, which I took, and I was teaching there, and I was teaching young people, and I was like, I definitely don't want to be a teacher, not going to go and do a PGCE, thank you very much, but I was like, however, there is something underlying here with all these children and young people that I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You're so young.
Lots of troubles there.
Why are you crying about not doing your homework? It's not a big deal. And it's my homework, and I'm sat here telling you it's not a big deal and you're still crying. Like, what's going on here? So I was really invested in them, in what was going on, in all the stuff that was coming from home.
Yeah.
And then I went travelling, and I just had loads of time to think. And I was like, so I'm going to go back to the UK, and what am I going to do? Am I just going to fall back into the same old cycle of what I did before? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I was like, I'm going to become a counsellor, and it just kind of like really fit. I'd had counselling before myself, so I'd experienced that. And I was just like, of course I am. Like, it just felt very natural. So I applied whilst I was travelling, and I moved back to Cardiff, and that's where it all began, and here we are.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is a very brief history. I've only actually been graduated for 2 years, so I'm still right at the beginning of this counselling journey that I'm on. So, yeah.
But I think, I mean, like I mentioned before, you're one of our lead counsellors, and I think that is such an accolade and achievement after being qualified for just 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think one thing, we've spoken before, and one of your passions when it comes to clinical support, clinical intervention, is supporting grief and and individuals through bereavement, which is why we're here talking about this today. What is it that interests you so much, and what why are you so passionate about supporting individuals through grief?
Well, it's very common, especially given the current situation that everybody's in at the moment with the pandemic, and then just other things that are going on in the world. Through my placement, grief accidentally kind of came to me. I didn't go through a grief placement. This particular topic kind of came to me through the people that I ended up supporting and counselling. And so that's where it really began. And I think the most interesting thing about grief is that I guess the word grief is just an umbrella term of all of these things that go under that. And that's really important. And so you might be working with grief, but also you're working probably with depression and anxiety and guilt and all of these other different types.
Trauma as well.
Trauma, yeah, of course. So everybody's grief is very different. So there's nothing's the same. I always say to people, you could be in a family, in a household, and you are all experiencing the same grief. The same person has kind of passed away, that person that is loved one or whoever it is. But as an individual, you're experiencing that yourself. Yeah. So all of these individuals in the same household are going through a completely separate thing because it's so individual to you, but you're grieving the same person maybe. And when people kind of actually understand that a little bit more, they're like, oh, okay, well, that's actually quite interesting. Let me just focus on my journey and what this looks like for me, because it's not the same.
So looking at households and family units, I guess, groups of people. What do you? I mean, it's just because you just mentioned about that now, and I don't want to forget to ask you. But what do you suggest in those situations? Is group therapy even a good idea, or do people need to individually start processing things themselves before they start coming together as a collective?
That's an interesting question. In terms of like group therapy, maybe something on the lines of family therapy, but it really, really depends on everybody in that space. And often through the helpline, for example, you're often getting a parent through the helpline that is then worried about the other individuals in the household, usually children, young people, whatever, and how they're managing and coping with things. And often the advice is just open a space, make it safe, let them know that they can talk, and there's no expectation here. Like, because you as that individual, you as that person, we can't really, there's no solution. There's just, like I said, everyone's going through a journey and everyone's on their own path, and it might all look different. Like some people say, you know, oh, and such a person hasn't cried yet. Why haven't they cried? All I'm doing is crying, and they haven't cried. Yeah. So, okay, that's okay. Well, that's fine. That's all right for them to do that. It's okay for you to do that. It's okay for you to cry. It's okay for them not to cry. Everything's okay. Yeah. There's no rules here. There's no rule book. There's no time limit. There's no right or wrong. It's just this journey. But I think as, I don't know if it's a society thing, but I think it's almost like we've got this expectation of this is what we need to do at this time. Yeah. And if a lot of people don't cry immediately, they're like, well, I haven't grieved. Well, okay, well, what do you relate to grieving then? And let's explore that. What's your perception of grief? Yeah. And like I said, for me, it's an umbrella term, but for some people, that's just it. So until we open that umbrella and explore what's underneath it, and explore how many things that it can hold into it, and what relates to you and what doesn't relate to you, then we can move forward.
So just touching on, you know, like, what's normal, you know, what are the normal timescales and stuff? Is it normal not to cry at all? Asking for a friend. But no, you know, realistically, there's, you know, I've had bereavements, you know, speaking personally, and I've been sad about it, and, you know, and really is horrible, you know, what happened and losing someone, but I've never physically cried over them. And I think, you know, I don't feel like I'm bottling anything up, and I'm sure there's other people that must feel, and I know there's other people that feel, you know, very similar, but is it that's normal? That's okay to not want to cry and not actually cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just your experience.
Set way of grieving.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely. Sometimes when grief isn't always sad. Yeah. Sometimes it can be a relief.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not always this sadness, and then we relate sadness to crying often and all of that sort of stuff. But it's not always sad. Sometimes it's a relief. Sometimes that person, we saw them in a lot of pain. Yeah. Or whatever it is. So, you know, there's a different feeling there. Yeah. So yeah, of course. And I think we always have maybe this expectation of, this is then how I'm going to present, especially if maybe we know that somebody is dying, or we are to lose someone. We kind of, it's almost like we give ourselves an expectation of, this is then what I'm going to look like in a few months when that happens, for example. Yeah. And then that doesn't come, and it's mind blown. What is going on? I'm not doing what I thought I should be doing. Yeah. So what's happening? It's okay. It's just not your expectation of what you thought. Yeah. Your expectation just hasn't.
Like, everyone kind of thinks of the movies like the Hollywood way of like dealing.
Oh, that's with everything.
With with anything that we're dealing with. Yeah, everything, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that. How many stages of grief is it again, though?
5, usually.
Yeah. But, so everyone's like, oh, now I'm at this stage and this stage. You know, people think they have to work through it like a checklist. And is it okay to not even work through those stages?
Yeah. You might not hit the depression. So often in no particular order: depression, anger, denial, bargaining. Yeah. And then hopefully some level of acceptance. Yeah. What that then doesn't cover is guilt, these feelings of guilt. There's so much that isn't really covered in that. Yeah. And so, you know, guilt or relief, or, you know, this other feelings that can come up with it, trauma, depending on the situation. So again, we've got to kind of very lightly look at those things, and that's just a guidance from a lot of research that has obviously gone into stuff and kind of come back, and it's great to follow that, but then it doesn't mean that this is absolutely what you are going to follow in this time, or what you're going to feel in this time, because then we're like, okay, so am I depressed? Am I in denial? because I'm not depressed, am I in denial? And if I'm not in denial, have I accepted it?
Getting the checklist out of the stages of grief, where am I? Yeah.
And then it's a roller coaster. Yeah. A roller coaster of emotions and different things that can come with that. So the best thing to do from my point of view, what I want to create is just a safe space. Yeah. Just a space for whatever emotion is going to then, or feeling or whatever is going to kind of be brought up in that. And then often it's a lot of reflection, a lot of remembering a situation or a person or a time or a place, and then we might be cracking on with life and then a smell hits us and boom, straight back there again. So it can come in waves. And like I said before, there's no timestamp on it. It's just something that we learn to live with.
Can people grieve forever? You know, like they're sad about it, or, you know, could like missing someone fall under that? You know, like grieving, you miss them forever. You know, like if you lost a partner or a child, something like that. So you could grieve forever. There's, you know, in approximately 18 months, you're going, this is going to stop. You're going to feel wonderful about life, and you're never going to think about them again.
Yeah. That's just not realistic, is it?
Yeah.
And so much pressure to put on ourselves. Can we grieve forever? Who am I to say and who am I to say no? I guess, You know, potentially there's probably a potential for that. Yeah, some level of that. Hopefully I would hope that somebody wouldn't be in a situation where they're sad forever, and that they can learn to live, or angry, or holding these feelings, and that they can learn to live with it, and you know, kind of have live their life as it continues. But you know, there are situations where people probably do grieve forever. And again, in our society, we very much hold birthdays and timestamps to that person as well. Birthdays or Christmas, or a time where, you know, if it's a family member, that we would come around and be together, and maybe that person isn't there anymore. And so we very much hold those things very, very close to us. And when those times come up, people often notice that their mood might reflect them reflecting about that person, whatever that can look like. So, you know, that's why it can come in waves. That's why there is no, in 18 months, this is how you're going to feel. Yeah. That's why there is no that, because we're always, because of our society and because of the way that we work, we are always kind of, lots of things do come to us, birthdays, Christmases, events, things that this person would like, or things that remind us of that person. So we're just going to be probably reminded of them quite a lot. Yeah.
I've never really sat and thought about it that much. You know, I talk a lot about workplace stress and anxiety and resilience, you know, like, but I don't, when I speak with employers, really venture into the realms of grief. Yes, I've, you know, as part of my role, I deal with traumatic events and critical incidents, and getting support in the moment for those types of things, and supporting the employers to support the employees. Yeah. So I don't really see it on I guess maybe a daily basis. Would you say like nearly every day you might speak to someone about grief?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Really?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, multiple. Every single
times a day?
Multiple, yeah.
You guys speak to like 100 plus people a week. So like, I guess it's a numbers game. You're gonna you're gonna be speaking. That's mad.
Oh, multiple, yeah. Because grief isn't just death. Yeah. Important. Grief is loss. Relationships.
Very, very good point. Yeah.
So grief's always there. It's often there a lot, because it isn't just death.
That is really interesting, actually, because I'm here, you know, coming in like talking about people dying and how you move on from that. But you may, you know, throw this out the window. Don't need this, because you have, you know, relationships. We've seen an increase in the end of relationships as a result of the past 2 years. You know, lots of relationship breakdowns, haven't there? Yeah. And I know that there's been the calls that we've been receiving. What kind of, you know, would you still follow almost the same stages? You know, grief is grief, I guess, now, isn't it? It's not, you're not thinking about someone dying and losing them from this earth, you know. Yeah. You're grieving what you once had.
Yeah. An expectation of maybe how your life was going to play out. Yeah. Maybe you had these ideas. Let's talk about, if we're going off relationships, you might have had these expectations of, I don't know, marrying this person, or at least spending a very long period of time together, maybe having children. maybe you have had children,
Yeah.
and that's still, you know, it's not gone the way that you expected. Yeah, we're grieving the loss of that relationship. We're grieving the loss of our expectations of what our life was going to look like.
Yeah.
We're grieving that person not being with us as often as we're used to, you know, sleeping in the same bed as somebody. All of those things, really intimate stuff that it's a grief, same with like loss in general, losing a job, you know, or
friendships as well.
Friendships, yeah, absolutely. Relationships very much come under a lot of grief. But yeah, it's loss, isn't it? And I guess that word is under the umbrella of grief.
Yeah.
There's a theme of loss. So
I never even thought of that.
Yeah. And then, you know, when we come back to death, it's not just people, it's pets, it's animals, it's you know, all of these types of things. Like they all fit in and they all have the space and they're all valid and they're all important, and it's important to acknowledge that. But yeah, I guess
you're thinking about it, the fact that it's not even, you know, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but do you remember when don't judge me, when Zayn Malik left One Direction and everyone, not myself, but a lot of people were distraught when Robbie left Take That. There were crisis lines set up because people couldn't.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh.
So
no, it's genuine. No, it's really genuine. Like it's funny because it's funny, but like, but actually, okay, yeah.
That is like losing your favourite character from a film, or you know, like TV series that you've been
so
you've stuck by for years.
And like, and you've
don't know if you watched Grey's Anatomy, but when
I don't.
That was McDreamy when he died.
I'm currently watching Money Heist or Casa de Papel. And you're just like, actually, how dare you? Game of Thrones, that guy loved killing people off. Giggles, like he did it all the time. Like, and you're like, hang on a minute. Where's Ned Stark? Yeah. Sorry for the spoiler. Spoiler alert. But then you're like, what's going on there? So you create a bond.
But you think about it.
You think about it all the time. You read about it. You want to like Google the actor or the person. Of course you do. Yeah.
We've gone off on a complete tangent. But it is really relevant.
About to move to RuPaul, but we can't do that. Like, no, we can't. Like, we'll just go right off. But you know, obviously,
when your favourite queen gets voted on. What were you going to say?
Well, no, some of the queens have passed away, haven't
they? Some of the queens. I thought you meant when some have been voted off.
I mean, like, you know, you're very invested in that person. You're very invested in their time and you've
celebrities in general. Like, oh my goodness, like how was. And you always feel like a pang of, oh my god.
There was that year,
what's my
world
going to be?
There was that year where
when Bowie, Prince,
everybody just.
And that really shook a lot of people
really
to the core,
like
didn't it?
It really did. Like,
I knew people that were holding vigils, you know, that were really cut up by it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, more than what you'd think if like they did lose someone close to them. But I guess everything goes back to everyone reacting in completely different ways.
Yeah, it's completely different.
You know, like how a snowflake, there's no one.
Yeah, that's the
set
same.
A snowflake. Yeah. It's kind of like that, it seems. There's
just no set way.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong.
So going back to serious talk now.
Yeah, sorry.
But more kind of in terms of like practical steps, I guess, than anything. So you've got someone, you know, for those that are listening that, you know, bereavement counselling or, you know, counselling for grief in general is very specialist. You know, if you're looking at longer term and it really needs to be adapted, and you can go through specialist training and stuff, can't you, as counsellors for that. But realistically, you know, what are the appropriate steps if someone is struggling, you know, I guess struggling to get past that, you know, the really distressed stage. They're not sleeping, you know, it's physically impacting them. They really can't seem to get past this. The physiological symptoms are just too much. And it's also then taking a toll on their mental health, causing maybe depression, consistent low mood, they're maybe not sleeping at all and not eating. And if it's getting to those kind of stages, you know, what would your recommendation generally be? You know, what would be your, right, this is your plan of attack, this is what's next?
Yeah. So again, that's very individual to different people.
I know. Yeah.
My initial thought was a support system.
Yeah.
Creating a support system or having a support system. Often we can isolate ourselves when we're in that kind of level of distress. We feel like we're a burden. People don't want to hear it. Yeah. They don't want to need to deal with our emotions. They've got other stuff going on. We're going through a pandemic. Yeah. and people then isolate themselves. So reaching out, and often when we're in that space, it's so easy to get into a spiral of wherever we are, and then we're like, nobody wants to hear this. You know, but people have got their own stuff going on. I'm a burden. I'm this, I'm that. Yeah. So it's so easy to get there. Actually reaching out to somebody, I would never, you know, if one of the most important things that I say to somebody is, okay, let's just hold that. Let's shoe on the other foot. Let's say a friend, you were on this call, and actually I was speaking to your friend, and they were saying, you know, I'm a burden. People have got other things going on. They don't necessarily need to hear this. What would you say to that person? And immediately it would be empathy, especially if it's a close friend. You'd want to rescue them. You would open a space up and you'd say, take a seat. Yeah. You know, sit down. I'm here.
You'd be mortified, wouldn't you? You'd be like, talk to me. I'm your friend. I'm your sister, whatever.
Yes, you would. You'd be you'd probably be quite upset. Like, you'd be like, I'm so sorry you're going through this, and you feel like you can't come to me or speak, or like you feel like you've not got anyone. So a support system is really important, whether you're reaching out to a helpline because you actually just want to speak to somebody that doesn't know you at all. Great. Or you're speaking to a friend or a family member or whatever, whoever it might be, then that is important, because with that we're able to be reassured that it's okay. This is okay that you're feeling this way, and it's okay that and you're not on your own, and this is a journey, and you know, there is support out there. In terms of that support, we're really kind of looking at how long this person needs, and again, that's really based on maybe how complex bereavement or whatever. So if we've got a long period of space, then we can hold that space. If we've got a short period of space, we might want to try and get to a place where we've managed to find balance in, not everything's so roller coastery and up and down, but we've found balance in our emotions, and we're maybe, you know, not finding that we're really distressed, and we've been able to kind of find a level of balance with that. Then can we explore that space, and only you really know when you're ready for that. Only you really know when that's the right time. I think
that's probably one of the most difficult things, is knowing
it's
when
so difficult,
because you look to everyone for the answers and guidance. You know, talking to a counsellor, like this is like me asking you very like black and white questions, like how long do you do this? When is the right time to do that? Only I would know if this was you, then you would know. Struggle to kind of tap into that and be like, so when is that the right time?
Sure, yeah, and then, but the more that we talk about it, or the more that you open or create a space for it, the more that people are kind of like, oh, actually, maybe I do want to get the funeral out of the way, you know, maybe I do want to wait for, I don't know, maybe in certain situations there needs to be like a full investigation of the person's death. So maybe we want to wait for more information, because with little information in those situations, like we can spiral, and we can be like, well, what if this? So maybe we just want to manage this right now, what it is that we're feeling, and then wait for more information to come so that we can actually be reassured, and then we can work with all the information rather than diving straight in the deep end with just these feelings that I'm feeling and this little information that I have. So support is there, and support is really important. You know, wonderful charities or EAP lines or whatever it might look like for people. It's just a case of when that's right for you, and for some people wait years. Some people wait days. I've spoken to people where it's happened on that day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they're like, let's go, let's set up the counselling. And we're like, okay, well, let's maybe explore a little bit more, you know.
Probably running on adrenaline, like, right, I'm going to do what society expects me to do and get counselling immediately.
And talk through this right now. Sometimes there is is this too soon? So it's really important that we just explore a space for that and work with that person and your frame of reference and where you are right now, and there's no pressure, there's no expectation, we're just opening a space.
Very good.
Thank you.
And you know, I'm like your voice, your counselling voice.
That's
so
this is
soothing.
yeah. That's pretty much
I'm
it.
like,
And then outside of it, I'm like, monkey union.
It works.
No,
it works. I guess I feel like, you know, we could talk about this for hours. There is so much.
Oh
that
yeah,
we
there's
can
so
cover.
much. Yeah.
I think more looking again practical side of things. For any employers listening to this, you know, any kind of top tips. You know, we see it a lot. You know, there's been, gosh, it's really tragic, but there's lots of workplace suicides and generally just bereavements in the workplace, lots of more loss because of COVID. You know, there's some general kind of top tips, you know, to do in terms of the workplace supporting if there was a loss and you helping the rest of the workplace grieve. Things from like, I don't know, the way that you break the news to people. That's the start of the process for many people, isn't it? All the way through to kind of memorials for an employee or what to do with their stuff, you know, because people like take umbrage, you know, with like, don't move their stuff just yet, or that kind of thing. So what would be like, or if you're looking at the other side, not losing an employee per se, or if you've got an employee that's lost someone, you know, what would be your kind of top tips? You know, very high level, very general.
I think it's about working with that person's frame of reference. And what I mean about that is sometimes we can go into this rescue. Let's rescue this person. Okay, so this has happened for them. What would I do? And it isn't mine. It's not mine. So let me just sit back. I know I want to support. So what does that look like? What does support look like for you
for this person
in this situation? Not what do I think is best. And sometimes we've really got to fight with that. We've got to fight with our inner rescuer because it wants to take over, and it wants to do the right thing. And am I doing enough? I often get that with employers. Am I doing enough? Yeah. Because you're just creating a space, even just creating a space and then asking that person and respecting their space of what do you need? And right now it might just be nothing. I just like this space. Thank you for checking in.
And don't feel like you need to overcompensate
for
that.
100%.
I've been there because you're helpless. You're like, you know, I love this person. You know, this person, star employee, you know, whether star employee or not. You know, you want to help. That's why I'm in a leadership position because that I want to look after people.
Of course.
And I've been there. And I'm like throwing stuff. Do you want annual leave? Do you want this?
You know, and then that can become a bit overwhelming. So it's just giving it to that person, and they might not know, and that's also okay.
But it's important to keep checking on that, I guess, without becoming naggy.
Like, what's good for you? Do you want me to check in a week? A couple of days? Like, what's good for you? Like, what works for you? What works for you? Probably one of the best questions you can ask. What's going to work for you?
It's good advice.
What do you need?
It's basic, it's simple. And I think,
strip it back.
You know, employers, leaders, they need to not overcomplicate things. Like I've been guilty of sometimes because you just want to, all you want to do is your best for that person. But you just got to keep it basic.
There's no magic wand. We can't wave anything. We can't necessarily change a situation. But what we can just do is just kind of say, how can I support you? What do you need right now? That's it.
Perfect. Well, have you got any final thoughts? Have you seen Jerry Springer? Jerry's Final Thoughts. That's what this is.
Actually,
any
not
final
seen
thoughts?
That bit. What happened? Yeah, but surely that's like the most ridiculous. Like, I feel like there's a lot of ridiculousness in that.
We're bringing some
Kayleigh's final thoughts.
We're bringing some lightheartedness to what's, you know, it is a really difficult topic.
It is.
You know, it can be quite difficult for people to listen to. If they see that it's a podcast on grief, they give it a go. I think it's nice to have a bit of you know, playfulness in that, you know, to make light of, you know, how difficult it can be. But have you got any kind of final thoughts at all? Anything? No. I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot of ground and we could carry on talking.
I mean, we could talk forever. I just if somebody is listening to this, then hopefully that something's been normalized for you, or that you've been able to take something away from that, or this, sorry, and that's it really. Just anything that you've been able to take away from it, or whatever. Then cool.
Fantastic. Georgia, thank you so much.
That's all right, thank you.
Thank you.